What if some of the most useful protein foods in the grocery store are nowhere near the meat case? A cooked cup of lentils provides nearly 18 grams of protein. A modest serving of tempeh can provide around 15 grams. And one traditional wheat food later on this list can reach more than 20 grams before you have filled half a plate. These are not powders, imitation shakes, or specialty products. They're beans, seeds, grains, and traditional foods that can turn an ordinary soup, breakfast, or dinner into a genuinely protein-rich meal. Here are 15 plant foods that can carry far more of your protein needs than most people realise. Number 7 is an old soup staple many families stopped making. Number 3 is a Mediterranean snack with an important warning that most labels barely explain. And number 1 is a fermented food that has anchored Indonesian meals for centuries. Let's begin with the vegetable almost everyone underestimates. Number 15 is green peas. Most people still think of peas as the little green side dish that rolls around the plate after everything else is gone. But one cooked cup provides about 8 grams of protein. Now, that is not enough to make peas a direct substitute for a piece of steak, but it is far more than you get from most familiar vegetables. And it's enough to turn an ordinary bowl of soup or rice into something more substantial. Frozen peas are often the easiest option. They're already shelled, cook in minutes, and can be folded into rice, pasta, stews, or mashed potatoes without changing the meal completely. For a quick lunch, simmer peas with onion and broth, blend half the pot, then stir the blended portion back in. You're left with a thick soup without having to add cream, and there is enough texture left that it still feels like food. Peas earn the first spot because they correct the most basic misconception on this list. Vegetables can contribute meaningful protein, even when they do not look like a protein food. But the next entry has something peas do not. Its protein contains all 9 essential amino acids. Number 14 is quinoa. A cooked cup provides about 8 grams of protein and brings something unusual for a grain-like food. It supplies all 9 essential amino acids. Technically, quinoa is a seed, although it is cooked and served much like rice. It became a staple in the Andes because it could grow under difficult high-altitude conditions, not because anyone was counting grams of protein. The practical advantage is that quinoa can replace a low-protein starch without making dinner feel unfamiliar. Use it beneath a stew, stir it into chili, or cool it overnight for a grain salad with chopped vegetables and beans. Rinse quinoa before cooking, unless the package says it has already been washed. The natural coating can taste bitter. Then simmer 1 part quinoa in roughly 2 parts water or broth until the liquid is absorbed. Quinoa will not carry dinner by itself, but paired with chickpeas, tofu, or lentils, it helps turn a plant-based plate into a complete meal. And the next food delivers about the same protein in a portion small enough to fit in your palm. Number 13 is pumpkin seeds, also called pepitas. A 1-ounce handful provides roughly 7 to 8 grams of protein. A quarter cup can approach 9 grams, depending on the product. That is a considerable amount for something usually treated as a garnish. Pumpkin seeds have long been used in the food traditions of the Americas, where they were toasted, ground, and blended into sauces rather than merely sprinkled over salads. That is still one of the best ways to use them. Toast unsalted pepitas briefly in a dry skillet, then blend them with cilantro, garlic, lime, and enough water to make a thick green sauce. Spoon it over roasted vegetables, beans, eggs, or tacos. Whole seeds are also easy to stir into oatmeal or eat with fruit, but keep the portion realistic. Seeds are nutrient-dense and calorie-dense, so endlessly eating from the bag can turn a modest snack into an overindulgent one. Choose unsalted or lightly salted versions when possible. Some packaged seeds carry far more sodium than the seed itself naturally contains. Pumpkin seeds are impressive, but the next seed asks even less of you. 3 spoonfuls can add nearly 10 grams of protein to breakfast before your coffee is even poured. Number 12 is Hemp Hearts, the soft inner portion of the hemp seed. 3 tablespoons provide about 9 to 10 grams of protein. Hemp also contains all 9 essential amino acids. The seeds have a mild, nutty flavour, rather than the bitter or grassy taste one might assume. And no, culinary hemp seeds don't produce an intoxicating effect like most people expect. Their greatest strength is convenience. No soaking, no cooking, no special recipe. Stir them into oatmeal, scatter them over yogurt, or blend them into a smoothie. You can also make a quick hemp dressing by blending 3 tablespoons with lemon juice, water, garlic, and a pinch of salt. Hemp works best as a protein booster rather than the centre of dinner, but adding 10 grams to a breakfast that already contains oats or yogurt changes the meal considerably. The next entry requires more cooking, but it costs very little and has supplied protein to households across the Americas for generations. Number 11 is black beans. 1 cooked cup generally provides about 12 to 15 grams of protein, depending on the variety and preparation. Black beans also bring something meat does not, a substantial amount of fibre. Fibre does not make the protein absorb better, but it adds another kind of value by supporting digestive health and helping the meal feel more satisfying. Meat supplies protein without fibre. Black beans deliver both in the same bowl, which is part of why they can carry a meal so well. For a 5-minute version, rinse a can and warm the beans with cumin, garlic, oregano, and a spoonful of tomato paste. Mash a few against the side of the pan to thicken the liquid. Serve them over rice, spoon them into a baked potato, or fold them into scrambled eggs. Canned beans are already cooked. When starting with dry beans, cook them fully according to the package directions. Soaking by itself does not make a raw bean ready to eat. The next entry is softer, milder, and 1 cup provides about 12 grams. Number 10 is lima beans, often called butter beans in their larger, creamier form. A cooked cup provides about 12 grams of protein, but their biggest advantage is texture. They become soft and buttery when cooked, making them especially easy to enjoy for anyone who dislikes firmer beans. Warm them with sautéed onion, thyme, black pepper, and broth. Mash them with lemon and olive oil for a hummus-style spread, or blend them into vegetable soup for richness without dairy. Because they are both filling and protein-rich, lima beans can carry a soup, stew, or grain bowl instead of merely sitting on the side. Next is the bean that became one of the most adaptable foods in the Mediterranean, Middle East, and South Asia. Number 9 is chickpeas, also known as garbanzo beans. A cup of cooked chickpeas contains about 14 to 16 grams of protein, although canned and drained portions may come in slightly lower depending on how they are measured. Chickpeas can become hummus, falafel, stew, curry, salad, pasta, or a crisp snack. Few protein foods move between that many different roles without requiring a highly processed substitute. For the simplest version, drain and rinse a can, dry the beans well, toss them with a small amount of oil and paprika, then roast at 425 degrees until crisp. They are best eaten within a day or two before they begin to soften again. Or mash them with mustard, lemon, chopped celery, and a little yogurt for a sandwich filling. What attracts people the most is the fact that chickpeas don't need to impersonate chicken to be useful. They work because they already have a long culinary identity of their own. And that raises our mid-video question. Which plant protein did your family serve as a true main dish when you were growing up, not merely as something on the side? Was it lentils, split pea soup, peanut butter, or something completely different? Drop the food and where your family was from in the comments. I have a feeling many of these meals carried more protein than anyone ever bothered to calculate. Number 8 is the peanut, which is technically a legume, by the way. Many people think they are tree nuts. A quarter cup of peanuts provides about 9 grams of protein, while 2 tablespoons of peanut butter usually provide 7 to 8. But the real advantage is how easily that protein stacks with the rest of a meal. Spread peanut butter over whole grain toast, stir it into oatmeal, blend it into a smoothie, or whisk it with lime, ginger, water, and soy sauce for a quick dressing over noodles, tofu, or vegetables. It can add another 7 or 8 grams to foods that are already contributing protein without requiring a separate recipe or much extra preparation. It is also inexpensive, shelf-stable, familiar, and easy to keep on hand. Look for a jar made mostly from peanuts, with perhaps a little salt, rather than one padded with added sugar and hardened fats. Anyone with a peanut allergy should avoid it, of course. And keep that in mind when we reach number 3, because it comes from the same botanical family. Now we move from foods that boost a meal to one that can carry the whole pot. Number 7 is split peas, one of the most underrated high-protein staples in the pantry. 1 cooked cup provides roughly 16 grams of protein, and unlike most dried beans, they usually need no soaking. Simmer them with onion, carrot, celery, thyme, and broth, and they naturally break down into a thick, filling soup without cream or a blender. American versions often include ham, but the peas themselves provide enough protein and substance to carry the pot. Finish with black pepper, mustard, or a squeeze of lemon. Split peas are a perfect example of what this channel is about. Rediscovering a simple ingredient that can do far more than modern kitchens give it credit for. That same idea inspired our free Natural Living Starter Kit, with 50 practical ways to bring simpler, traditional alternatives back into your kitchen, bathroom, medicine cabinet, and home. I'll show you where to get it near the end. Number 6 is lentils. One cooked cup provides roughly 17 to 18 grams of protein, and most varieties need no soaking. Red lentils soften in about 15 to 20 minutes, while green and brown lentils stay firmer for salads, soups, and stews. For an easy weeknight meal, sauté onion and garlic, then add red lentils, chopped tomatoes, cumin, and broth. Simmer until the lentils become thick and creamy, and one inexpensive pot can feed several people. Lentils have sustained traditional kitchens across South Asia, the Mediterranean, Africa, and the Near East for thousands of years. Pair them with whole grains, nuts, seeds, or soy foods throughout the day, and those different plant proteins complement one another beautifully. But the next food makes things even simpler by providing all 9 essential amino acids in one familiar green bean. Number 5 is edamame, the young green soybean. One cooked cup provides roughly 17 to 22 grams of protein. Unlike most plant foods, soy supplies all 9 essential amino acids in useful proportions. Soy protein is therefore considered a complete protein. Edamame is also one of the easiest entries to test. Frozen shelled edamame can go directly into boiling water, a skillet, or the microwave. Add it to fried rice, toss it into a salad, or mash it with lemon and herbs. Whole pods can be steamed and lightly salted, but remember that the pod itself is not eaten. The beans are pushed out with the teeth. And by the way, the fear that ordinary soy foods inevitably disrupt human hormones is not supported by the broader body of research. So it shouldn't discourage you from trying it, unless you have a soy allergy, in which case definitely avoid it. But for those that can tolerate it, edamame earns a high position because it combines serious protein with almost no preparation. And the next soy food takes that same complete protein and turns it into one of the most versatile ingredients in your kitchen. Number 4 is tofu. The protein number varies considerably because tofu can be silken, soft, firm, extra firm, pressed, or baked. 3 ounces of soft tofu provides around 8 grams of protein. Firmer and more concentrated products can provide more, so the nutrition facts label matters here. But that variation is not a weakness. It is what gives tofu such range. Silken tofu can be blended into soup, dressing, sauce, or dessert. Firm tofu can be pressed, sliced, marinated, and browned in a skillet. For a crisp version, pat firm tofu dry, cut it into cubes, toss it with a little oil and seasoning, then roast at 425 degrees until the edges are golden. Add it to stir fries, soups, or grain bowls. Some tofu is prepared with calcium salts and can provide meaningful calcium, while other products contain much less. Again, check the label rather than assuming every block is identical. Tofu ranks above many beans because it offers complete soy protein in a form that is easy to chew, quick to cook, and capable of absorbing almost any flavour. But number 3 delivers an unusually large amount of protein for such a compact serving, making it one of the most concentrated whole beans on this list. Number 3 is lupini beans. A half cup of prepared lupini beans can provide around 13 grams of protein. That is more than many familiar beans deliver in the same amount of food, which is why lupini ranks so highly despite appearing later than some full cup servings with larger totals. They have a long place in Mediterranean food traditions, where properly prepared beans are served as a brined snack. They are firm, pleasantly chewy, and slightly bitter, with a texture unlike softer black beans or chickpeas. Buy lupini already prepared rather than trying to remove their naturally bitter alkaloids without a tested process. Drain and rinse them, then add them to salads or serve them with lemon, herbs, and olive oil. Because they are commonly sold in brine, Compare sodium levels between brands. There is also one important allergy warning. Lupin belongs to the same botanical family as peanuts, and the FDA warns that people with peanut allergies may also experience serious reactions to lupin. Look for the words lupin or lupini on ingredient labels. Lupini beans are the strongest whole bean entry near the top of this list. The final two take plant protein into denser forms that can serve as the unmistakable centerpiece of a meal. Number 2 is seitan. Seitan is made by separating wheat's gluten protein from most of its starch. The result is a dense, chewy food that can be sliced, simmered, roasted, or browned, much like meat. Depending on the recipe or brand, a 3-ounce serving often provides somewhere around 15 to 21 grams of protein. This is where the video title's comparison becomes most literal. Seitan can reach the protein range of a modest serving of meat without requiring an oversized bowl. But it comes with 2 important qualifications. First, seitan is wheat gluten. It is not suitable for anyone with celiac disease or a medically diagnosed gluten-related disorder. Second, wheat protein is relatively low in lysine, but a varied diet containing beans, lentils, peas, or soy helps fill that gap pretty easily. Commercial seitan can also contain considerable sodium, so be sure to compare labels. Slice it thinly and brown it in a skillet before adding vegetables and sauce. Its firm, chewy texture absorbs marinades beautifully, making it one of the easiest plant proteins to use in stir-fries, sandwiches, tacos, and stews. Only one food ranks above it, because number 1 combines meaningful protein, all 9 essential amino acids, whole soybeans, and centuries of practical use. Number 1 is tempeh. Traditional tempeh is made by fermenting cooked soybeans with a culture that binds the beans into a firm cake. It developed on the Indonesian island of Java and has been part of Indonesian food culture for many, many years. A 3-ounce serving generally provides about 13 to 15 grams of complete protein. Some denser products provide more, which is why label values vary. Seitan may beat it in pure protein concentration, so why does tempeh take number 1? Because tempeh offers the strongest overall balance on this list. It starts with whole soybeans rather than isolated wheat protein. It supplies all 9 essential amino acids. It holds together in a skillet. It absorbs marinades. And one modest serving can genuinely become the protein center of dinner. For an easy first try, steam the tempeh for 10 minutes, slice it thinly, then marinate it with soy sauce, vinegar, garlic, and a touch of honey. Pan-sear until the edges are deeply browned. Steaming softens the texture and mellows the slight bitterness some newcomers notice. So, can plant foods rival meat for protein? Absolutely. When you stop expecting one ingredient to do all the work. You don't need chicken, steak, fish, or eggs at every meal. You need a handful of reliable ingredients and a few simple ways to prepare them. A cup of lentils can bring nearly 18 grams. Edamame and tofu provide complete soy protein. Seeds and peanut butter can add another 7, 8, or 10 grams to foods you already eat. And tempeh or seitan can stand right at the center of the plate. The real advantage is variety. Rotate beans, lentils, whole grains, seeds, nuts, and soy foods through the week, and building a genuinely high-protein diet becomes far easier than most people assume. And that same idea, questioning whether every ordinary need really requires a modern alternative, is what led us to create the Natural Living Starter Kit we mentioned earlier. It includes 50 traditional swaps for the kitchen, bathroom, medicine cabinet, and home. It is completely free, and the link is in the description. Now I want to hear from you. What is one meatless meal you already make that leaves you completely satisfied? Share it below. Your answer may give someone else their next favourite dinner. And if you liked this video, we've given you 2 more that you might enjoy. They're waiting for you right now on your screen. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you in the next one, here at the Natural Living Library.